It was the bombshell of the trade and free agency period when it was made official that Clayton Oliver's Melbourne future was up in the air. He was a player that had no significant off-field concerns before and was building towards having the best resume anyone has had in the Demons' entire history. The signs to this point had been building, with the most public being the heated argument between Oliver and the trainer as the star was recovering from his hamstring injury that interrupted his year. It was also suggested a foot infection early in the year came from Oliver attempting to tattoo himself. There was frustration built up between both parties. Oliver was recently in Footscray Hospital after a medical episode following the best and fairest, adding to the speculation around his current condition. These recent events have also led to Melbourne's culture going under examination. Since 2021, it's been two frustrating campaigns ending with straight set exits, but potential issues with their culture were never seriously raised when they were winning. The club's culture had changed under Paul Roos and eventually Simon Goodwin, leading to the 2021 flag. We saw players play selfless roles like Alex Neil-Bullen, Angus Brayshaw and Jack Viney. It worked for a season, but going back to last year, behaviour did begin to shift. The infamous Stephen May and Jake Melksham brawl was a big story in the middle of the year. May had a few drinks and was mouthing off to teammates including Joel Smith and Melksham, which escalated to Melksham punching him in the face, creating the brawl. It's a serious incident with two senior players, and May was also in the leadership group, but the reaction by Melbourne was pretty light. Melksham didn't get suspended, but missed through an infection in his hand caused by the punch, and May's behaviour led to a 1-game suspension from playing and a 1-game suspension from the leadership group. The statement released by Melbourne describing what happened read, "Following a dinner on Sunday evening, Jake and Stephen informed us of a scuffle that took place after a light-hearted disagreement between the pair escalated. The rest of the statement mentioned how both players were remorseful for their actions and that they would complete community service as a part of their punishment." That was all that came from it. Would this reaction have been the same if Melbourne didn't come off a premiership win and weren't 10 wins and 2 losses at the time? The AFL does have a history of taking on the mantle that winning fixes everything, and we may be seeing it right now at Melbourne. Oliver seemed to be well behaved, but did bad habits creep in, or did they see his well-being beginning to fall away while they were winning and deflect it instead of addressing it? Why did it take until a second straight sets finals exit to point the finger at him and warn he might be traded? Allegations of poor behaviour against Simon Goodwin were launched by former President Glenn Bartlett, who stepped down mid-2021. These are only allegations and nothing has come of them yet, but it's another layer of questioning surrounding Melbourne's culture. But Melbourne aren't alone in underplaying signs of troubled behaviour while they are winning. The most famous example were the Ben Cousin years at the West Coast, between 2001 and 2007. The unreleased 2008 report by retired Victorian Supreme Court Judge William Gillard into West Coast culture outlined a horrific amount of off-field troubles. It outlined by 2004 the majority of the AFL list at West Coast knew senior members were partaking in illicit drugs. It was critical of senior coach John Worsfold as well as CEO Trevor Nisbet of covering up years of disturbing off-field issues. So why would they do that? The shame it would cause the club would have been catastrophic, but between 2004 and 2007 the club finished in order 7th, runner-up, premiers and then 3rd. It was a successful era on field, but winning football matches doesn't always correlate to a golden culture. It eventually capitulated for Cousins himself, but the Booze Bus incident in early 2006 is the best portrayal of the lack of accountability for off-field mistakes. He did step down as captain for the season, but if you can believe it, he didn't even get suspended for a game. In fact, just a few months later, Cousins signed a 3-year extension to stay at the Eagles, eventually becoming a premiership player the same year. Again, it relates back to the thought that winning can fix or overshadow everything. The same concept applies to the talented players in our league. It's hard to find good players in the AFL, so clubs do tolerate some actions from certain players more than their counterparts who are not as gifted. On an old open mic episode, Dane Swan admitted himself that he and others at Collingwood often got away with their weekend activities while they were playing well.
Did Mick turn a blind eye to your occasional lapses of discipline?
Yes, is a short answer. Yeah, but and this was probably just before the new era of the player and the new era coach and stuff like that. So back when I was getting going, it was probably more a results-driven league anyway. So as long as you played well, you sort of got a little bit of leeway. And this was more for the 10, 12, 13 blokes who played every week.
Even a troubled star such as Taron Thomas has gotten chance after chance at North Melbourne. But the story would be different if he was just a role player or a player that was in and out of the team. His ability, which is phenomenal, has been the reason he has a job at North Melbourne. His play helps win matches. Troubled players are a lot of work for clubs, but when they show potential or do perform, it's hard to get rid of them. Recent seasons have shown how beneficial a switch in behaviour off-field can be to the individuals and team success. There are countless examples all throughout history where a tough meeting, threat of delisment or actual sacking has booted players into gear. How about the star of this final series, Jordan De Goey? The list of off-field troubles is long, and it took until he was 27 and 9 years in the AFL to realise what it takes to be great. There were countless opinions and articles to trade him and his troubles away, but the persistence has led to a premiership. All-Australian captain Toby Green has been one of the stories of the year. His issues were far more on-field, but with $30,000 in fines and plenty of dirty plays, even he changed his behaviour. He was spotless this year at age 30 and played every game he was physically fit to. He's now considered a top captain and leader in the competition. Another player who turned it around in a premiership team was Tyson Stengel in 2022. It can be frustrating putting up with these distractions, but when the talent is right in front of you, persisting to put players on the right path can reward clubs massively. A big focus in the pre-season and next year will be the response of Melbourne. They've gotten rid of a few players in this trade period and will look to fix the on-field issue of their forward half. But off-field, the response of Oliver will be fascinating along with his teammates. There is clearly no more hiding or deflecting anymore, and the club seems to be razor focused on getting the environment back to its peak in 2024.